Welcome back to the Lost Boyz Podcast. Gianni,
Brandon.
welcome. This is episode 35. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, share with a friend, turn your post notifications on. We post every single Thursday at 12 p.m., so don't miss out. I blanked out. I was gonna say something else, and I went blank. Anyways,
We're less than 20 weeks away. We're more than halfway to a year.
yeah. When did we start? March, right?
March. Yeah, sometime in March.
I think it was like the end of March. So that's what, like 4 or 5 months left. 4.5 months before we're there.
Hey.
That's actually pretty crazy to think about, because it does not feel like we've been doing it for that long.
Dead ass. This has just become the regular like Monday routine.
Yeah, literally every single day, Monday, same time. I say every single day, every single week, Monday, same time. We do the podcast and then that's it. And then go about the rest of our lives. So it's interesting how it's almost 1 year. I wonder if we will be at 100 by then.
We will be. We're going to be at 100 by the end of the year.
Operation get us to 100 subscribers before 2023. We have until December 31st, 11:59 p.m., 59 seconds to hit 100 subscribers. We're like, how many away? Like 40? Actually, 32. Maybe less. 32.
31,
yeah.
32.
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
Hey, get us there, bro. Share with your friends. Subscribe. It helps us out. And yeah. So let's get into today's episode. Today's episode, we're going to talk more about emotions and how to handle them in a sense. But I think the main point I want to start off with is to stop letting emotions dictate your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I shouldn't have touched it. Obviously, it's easier said than done, right? I know I struggle with it sometimes. There's certain aspects that I'm good at, and then certain aspects of myself that I am horrendous at. So obviously, it's easier said than done, but at least becoming aware of it and trying to work on it, I think is key. And so like an example of like what I mean by this is if you're an angry person or you get angry, the initial reaction is to, I guess, fight, whether it be physical or verbal, like an altercation. And I think that's the wrong way to go about it, because I think when you show that kind of emotion, what you're really showing is a level of weakness within yourself. And it's not about like, oh, I have to be this strong, macho person. It's just no one wants to be around weak people.
That's true.
So although you don't have to act like you're this kind of macho person, but if you can at least control that, you'd see how more people are going to be more inclined to want to hang out around you, versus if you act out on it, people are actually going to want to get away from you. And that's something I've noticed, like from observing other people, like myself too. Like when I see other people who can't control their emotions, like especially anger, who can't control, like any little thing ticks them off when they get angry, I don't really like to hang out with them, because they're going to drag me into something that I know I could have avoided. But because of them, I'm in this situation now. So that's where I've seen like how it can separate people. Like I see somebody who can't control their anger, I'm like, I don't want to hang out with them. So if I see somebody who can control it and knows when to use it at the right time or for the right things, then I'm more inclined to be like, okay, I want to surround myself with you, because you're probably not going to put me in a situation where it's going to affect my personal life.
Nah, very true, and rightfully so. Like,
goddamn, sorry.
To even bring into the conversation why that's so important, you got to remember, you don't make your best decisions when you're angry or when you're sad or anything like that.
Yeah.
You also don't make your best decisions when you're really happy either.
Yeah.
So, two sides of the same coin. So that's why it's so important to be careful who you surround yourself with, because like you mentioned, like that person that can't control their anger, is going to make dumb decisions if anything goes wrong. And those dumb decisions are going to fall on you too, because you have to act accordingly with that person.
Yeah.
I don't know why I pressed record and now I can't stop yawning. But to bounce off of what you said, surrounding yourself with people that are level-headed, very focused, and can control themselves in all scenarios, right? Very important. In turn, will make you better at controlling yourself. because you don't want to be the guy or girl that acts out in a very unnecessary way.
Yeah, 100%. And like that also ties into another example of just like, I've noticed as well, I'm sure you've noticed and everyone's noticed, like when you tend to see like, sometimes you see how, oh, these people are friends, they're cool, but then one of them does one of the others dirty, they backstab them, they do them dirty, they do things that they probably shouldn't have done. And sometimes it's because they're jealous or they envy where you are or that other person is. And to me, that's like the ultimate form of weakness.
Yeah.
Because like if it's not about being jealous or envious of that person or what they have, it's about how you channel that. If I see somebody who drives a McLaren and I don't have a car, my mind is not like, oh, let me see how I could finesse. They have a bunch of money. I could, if I finesse them for an extra $1 or two, like that's not gonna hurt them. I see it the other way. I'm like, okay, they have that. I want it too. I'm gonna go and try to do everything I can so that you can put me onto the game to get like you versus, okay, cool, I made a few extra bucks, but I'm still in the same position.
Yeah.
Or I could have not done you dirty or backstabbed you, and I would have caught up to your level in life because you would have saw the genuineness in me and how I actually don't want to do that to you, and in return you choose to help me. So it all comes back down to like how you channel those emotions. I think that's the key. Like how you decide to channel those emotions are gonna dictate how those things play out for you. Because I can stab 1,000,000 people in the back, it's not gonna get me very far in life. Or I can see what somebody else has and be like, damn, okay, you know what? Instead, I'm gonna use this as motivation to work harder, to work smarter, to network, to understand more, to expand more. And then from there, I can catch up and get to their level and go from there. But I feel like some people, not all people, but some people don't think that way or operate that way.
A lot of people, I would say, in today's society have a very, like you said, short-term gratification mind where, Jesus Christ. Funny thing is, I wasn't even like tired before we started. I just saw the lights and I was like, yeah, it's nap time. But have like a lot of people have this like short-term gratification mindset where it's making an extra $3, let's say, or just finessing this person, right, for whatever I can get now, outweighs the relationship or the networking opportunity, like you said, with a person. Because, from the people that I've spoken to, a lot of them are willing to help. A lot of them are willing to talk or willing to put you on game. But a lot of people don't see it that way. It turns into a lot of, well, what can I just get out of this right now?
Yeah, what can I get out of you versus how can I add to you, in a sense.
And that's like one of the ways to go about networking, let's say. You want people to bring value to you, you have to bring value to people.
Yeah.
You're paid on, in life, you're paid on the value you bring to others.
Yeah. And that's 100% true. And another example too of like how a certain emotion can affect you. Like I think sadness, it can lead to lack of progression if you allow it to do that, right? Because I can be sad about something, right? We're human. We're all gonna feel sad at some point, but it's how we act in those moments of sadness that it's gonna dictate how we then live life going forward. So I can be sad. And then instead of being like, okay, I'm just going to find the comfort in the sadness. Instead, I want sadness to be uncomfortable. I want discomfort in sadness. I don't want to get sad and then feel comfortable in my sadness. Cause then that's a lack of, I'm not going to progress. I'm not going to have any progress because I'm going to be comfortable. There's going to be no need for me to want to step out and try those things. But if the sadness makes me uncomfortable, it's like, nah, I can't be like this. It's going to drive me to then go out and try to find ways to improve so I can stop experiencing the sadness. So that's like another example of like how you like, it goes back to channeling your emotions. We're all going to experience these emotions. We're all going to have moments, right? We're human. Sometimes it's just going to snap and Like it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
But it's trying to control as many of those moments as possible so it doesn't happen. And if you can allow yourself to not get comfortable being sad and then use that discomfort to then do something better and greater in life, then that's the way you should channel it, in my opinion. In my opinion, like channeling the emotion doesn't mean neglecting the emotion. It's acknowledging it and then deciding, okay, what can I do to get past it?
Yeah.
Versus acknowledging it and then saying, okay, this is it. And then tap out and let life just run all over you. I'm going to keep being the angry person. I'm going to keep being the jealous, envious person. And also I was going to say before, fast money brings slow problems.
Yep.
So you're not going to get very far with that. And then again, sadness. Like, I don't want to be the person that's sad all the time. So I'm going to do whatever I got to do to try and not be that. Also, people don't want to really be around sad people. As messed
Hard
up as,
truth.
yeah, it's a hard truth, but it is the truth. Like, as much as people may bullshit and lie, they may accept it for a little bit, but at some point they're going to get frustrated and just end up cutting you off. Or they're not just going to want to surround yourself. They're not going to want to surround themselves with you. Yo, I can't talk today.
You can't talk and I can't stop yawning.
And then another thing too is like laziness. For me, laziness is regression, because if you're lazy, well, then you don't want to do what's necessary to progress. And I think this is the one that most humans can relate to, because naturally we are lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, we don't want to do things. We just do them because we have to. But if I could never work another day in my life, have all the money in the world and just chill, I think 99% of people in theory would be like, yes, I would love that. However, it's also not the best thing, because if you're not working, you're not progressing.
It's true.
So there's got to be something to it. Like, if I'm lazy, it's okay. I don't want to be comfortable lazy. I want to find discomfort in being lazy. And I want to have discomfort in knowing that, like, I'm not doing nothing. Like, no, I'm not doing nothing. I feel useless. Even if that means, like, I'm going to just go, like, put a chain on a bike, or, like, screw the screw a little bit tighter, like, to do something. And also, obviously, like, they're just examples. It doesn't have to be that way, but because I'm not saying you can't rest at all. You can have rest, but it's knowing you have to do something, but being too lazy to do it and choosing to live in the laziness, versus being lazy, understanding you need to do this, you get it done, and then you rest. And it's like, it comes into discipline. And that's why I say you get regression, because you're not disciplined to push yourself further.
And discipline is the key to unlocking all the successes in life, truthfully. I wanted to mention before, when you brought up like channeling emotions and like getting past it and everything like that, part of that is looking at yourself and understanding, what did you do to get yourself in that position? Mm-hmm. What did you do that got you to feel this way? Which leads into self-awareness. Like, you got to admit, sometimes we make ourselves sad. Like, sometimes we are the reason why we feel the way that we do, even though we start looking at other people in the world for why we feel the way that we do, or we look at the world in general, like anything that's going on. Sometimes it's just you. And you need to be self-aware enough to dive deep and figure that out. And on top of that, I want to touch on the discipline thing, because I remember I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was like, everybody dreams of a fancy life where you're just laying on the beach and drinking mimosas every day, right? And then he's like, you're living a life in a vice. And he was like, how long until you die from that? Like, how many mimosas can you drink on the beach before your liver fails?
Yeah.
So it's like, how many days can you spend on the beach before you actually get bored? With anything that we love, if we spend enough time doing it, we actually get tired of it. Like, we lose the enthusiasm for it. I think it's actually, life is structured beautifully that you have to keep working for more. Mm-hmm. You have to keep grinding for more. You have to keep getting better. You have to keep learning and progressing. And in general, just as like creatures,
yeah,
you don't see any animals in the wild just sit down and be like, you know what, I got enough acorns.
Yeah.
Like, no, they stash the acorns and then they go search for more.
Yeah. They're always finding a way to get better. There's no lion that conquers a piece of territory and says, this is enough.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep living their life trying to conquer as much territory as possible until they get killed. And that's pretty much the way it is for us. Is like we should be doing everything possible to either conquer as much as we can, and whatever that may be, because at the end of the day, we're going to die. It's inevitable. I mean, some people can also take it the other way, where it's like, oh, but if I'm going to die, then why even bother to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's like, truthfully, I think that's not a fulfilling life, doing nothing. Like, I think as humans, we were created to build and then to always learn at the same time, because if our mind isn't stimulated, as you know, through everything we have technology wise, like, we don't progress. We don't keep pushing forward. We don't conquer. We don't evolve as a species. So I think it's necessary. And I think too many people nowadays, especially, right? I can only talk about nowadays, right? Because I wasn't alive in the 1970s. But nowadays, in my timeline, from my experience, I think too many people lose to difficulty too easily. And I'm one of them. Like, sometimes things get difficult and I just choose to give up sometimes. So I'm not a perfect man myself. Like, I lose to difficulty sometimes too. However, I think there's a level of it as well where I think nowadays is like way too exacerbated, where it's like any little inconvenience in someone's life is like they just tap out. Like, they don't even try to fight. There's no like, oh, fuck that, I'm going to figure this out. It's like, oh, it's that person's fault.
Yep.
It's this person's fault. It can't be my fault. It's like, no, you're just not living up to what you're capable of. You're not living up to your potential. Life isn't easy, and it's never going to get easier. It just progressively gets harder and harder, especially the older you get, because there's other things that like you have to deal with, whether it be physical, health, like a whole bunch of family. You start losing family members because of age.
Yeah.
So life doesn't get easier. It's difficult in itself. It's probably the most difficult thing ever. So everything else should be somewhat easier if you really think about it. In theory, living is the most difficult part because you have to deal with so much.
Oh, yeah.
All the other stuff is just extra.
It's funny because you look at life, right? And you think about things that happened. And, for example, I'm going to use a high school breakup, right? For that high schooler, it's the end of the fucking world. Mm-hmm. That's it. The world is done, right? Oh, shit. My high school sweetheart don't want me, right? And then for that period in time, that's the worst thing you've ever been through. Mm-hmm. And then 3 years later, something else happens. Now that's the new worst thing you've ever been through. And then something else happens, and then like it keeps getting, air quotes, worse and worse, right? But then you look at some other things that you can find going on in the world, right? That where there's some fucked up shit that happens, and like that you look at that and you're like, damn, that's fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. There's so much like negative in life, like, so like you said, life is very fucking hard, but you have to go above and beyond to not live in that like in the negative, let's say, because life is gonna throw shit at you. Yeah. But you gotta be better than life. Like, you gotta constantly be progressing in life, because truthfully, the way I see things, the shit that happens to us is really like, hey, there's a lesson here. You gotta find the lesson. It's like a little maze. Like, find the lesson in this bullshit, right? Yeah. And the reason why I likened that into my own life is because now anything I go through, I truly 100% believe I come out of it better at the end, because there's a lesson at the end.
There's always a lesson. That's why I say I never lose. I either win or I learn. Mm-hmm. Because I either won or I left with the lesson from it that taught me. So now in the future, I can apply that. Because if you can only lose to difficult situations, you can only lose to other things if you don't learn from it. Mm-hmm. Because if I lose and I don't understand or try to understand why I lost, then I'm going to keep losing. But if I lose and then figure out, or at least try to figure out why that happened, then the next time that comes around, I'm gonna win because I already have the knowledge and the experience now. It's like take somebody off the street who's never boxed before and put them to box somebody who does box, and they're gonna lose, obviously, and they're gonna realize, oh, maybe this is why I lost. And now let me train more, and then they end up getting put randomly in a boxing ring again, but this time now they're prepared, and they end up winning. Like, obviously, it's just an example. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but it's to show, like, you have to search for the answers. The answers aren't just gonna fall in your lap.
It's true.
You know, and back to like channeling emotions and how you should do them. Like, I think like the best way. All right, for me, so this is a bias, obviously opinion, because it's from my opinion and perspective. But I think if you struggle with controlling your emotions overall, because obviously to an extent we all do, but overall, like you're hyper aggressive or hyper this, hyper that, I think everyone should look into stoicism, in my opinion. I think Marcus Aurelius is a good way to start. Also check out Seneca. Like, a lot of their work is really good, in my opinion, and I think it's very beneficial to those who struggle with controlling emotions. For me, personally, in my experience, I feel like I've been pretty decent at controlling my emotions. And then when reading on his philosophies and Seneca's philosophies as well, I found they gave explanations to myself. Like, it was a way of already knowing what I knew, and then seeing it as like, okay, that's how I can articulate what I actually feel and why I do the things I do. And I think if more people, I'm not saying I'm perfect, by the way, but I'm saying if more people can adopt the stoic mentality, in a sense, it would be way more beneficial for them in the long run. Like, just overall how to operate. It's just like being calm, being cool, like collected, observe, understand, listen, truly like grasp what's going on before you let your emotions dictate what you decide to do. You know, like there's also this thing called like the 48-hour rule, I think it's called, where it's like before you make a big decision or before like you act out on an emotion, give it 48 hours before. Give it 2 days before you make a choice. And if in 2 days later you still feel that same exact way with that same exact emotion, it hasn't dropped even a tiny bit, then okay, maybe it's what you need to do. But if there is a change at some point and maybe you're still upset but not as upset, then you know that's not the right choice to go with. It's unnecessary. You can just continue living life, and that's it. Life goes on.
I had to fact check what I was about to say. Because what you just said is fire, and the reason why stoicism is so dope is because it keeps you grounded, right?
Yeah.
Keeps you on that level playing field. 17 episodes ago, we talked about the life's roller coaster. Stoicism kind of keeps you like, no, let me not say that, because stoicism isn't this fucking superpower or anything like that. You keep yourself there, right? But what I wanted to fact check is this. The decision-making part of the brain, right, is predominantly the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, right?
Yeah.
These are your critical thinking parts of the brain that you go to for all your decision-making skills, except when you're angry or extremely sad or fearful or feeling levels of anxiety, right? When you feel those emotions, your decision-making transfers over to the amygdala. Okay. And that is the decision-making part of the brain for self-defense, aggression, hostility.
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
Got it.
So when you're angry and you're like, you know what? As a guy, you know it, right? When you're angry, I feel like every guy feels the need to like you feel strong as fuck, right?
Yeah. You just feel the need to rage.
Yeah. That's because the part of your brain that tells you, yo, the muscles calm down, like we're not in danger, that shit's gone. Now it's like, oh, I'm feeling this for a reason, I must be in danger.
Yeah.
Hence punching walls and fucking domestic violence and X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense too, because the prefrontal cortex, if I'm not mistaken, is here in the forehead. It's actually the last part of your brain to develop. I think is at 26 is when it's fully developed. And also your hippocampus is what stores your memories. So it would make sense because the prefrontal cortex is key in decision making, which is why a lot of young people make stupid decisions because it's not developed. And then your hippocampus is where your memories are stored. So that's obviously going to give you the experience from previous to allow it to affect your prefrontal cortex to then make a decision, which makes a lot of sense. And then when it goes to the amygdala instead, and obviously fight or flight, you're going to act out more in emotion because of that, because your emotion is what's dictating, okay, am I going to live right now or am I going to die? And sometimes we make things greater than what they really are. Sometimes we think, oh, shit, I need to kill everybody. Like, not literally, but like, you know, in your head, like, sometimes somebody bumps into you in the club and you're like, oh, that's it. I'm punching everybody in this bitch. Mm-hmm. It's like, bro, he didn't threaten your life. He just bumped into you. Like, chill out. Right? But if you have at least a memory of like, oh, he bumped into me, but nothing happened. The rest of my night went fine. Or he bumped into me, but he was with 20 other dudes and they jumped my ass. Then you're going to make the decision like, okay, I'm not going to fight today. You know? So that makes a lot of sense, actually. I didn't know that, but that does make a lot of sense. Why?
I saw that on, I'm not going to, let me not even try. It was like an IG reel, but it was like one of those like public speakers. Okay. And then I was like, this is a dope point. I need to figure out which parts of the brain it was. I was like,
yeah, that makes so much sense though. Because when you said hippocampus, I was like, huh? But then that made sense because that's where your memory's stored. So obviously that's where your life experiences are going to help influence your actual decision.
It's like they communicate like, oh my God, are we going to go left or right? Hippocampus is like, yo, last time we went right, we got attacked by an alligator, go left.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then anger is just killed, like what's up? Like,
yeah. Wow. I wonder what happens more. Like, I know that, but like, I wonder more like on a chemical compound, like what happens in the brain when those things come up. Like, does a human or are all humans capable of being able to take that thought process out of the amygdala and back into where it needs to be, or if once it gets there, it's over? That's what I'm curious about.
Like in the moment?
Yeah, like when they have that snap, like for me, like things will happen. I feel like it doesn't go straight to my amygdala. I feel like it goes to the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. And then if it's really bad, it'll jump to the amygdala. But it starts off there every time. Yeah. But I feel like for some people, I wonder if like it just goes straight to the amygdala. And then, after time when the situation is calmed down, then it comes back. Or if it ever comes back at all. Like, I would like to research more on that. Or if there even is studies on that. Because that's interesting.
I'll do some research. I'll do some Googles.
Yeah.
And once I heard that, I thought about it. Like, right now, right? If we were walking outside and somebody bumped into me, probably really wouldn't care as much. Just be like, oh, my fault, bro. Like, whatever. But then there's times when somebody's bumped into me when I was already in a bad mood, and it was like he spit in my face.
Yeah.
Hey, yo. Nah. But so once I heard that, I was like, yo, I can see the differences. But I am curious to know, like you said, if it can go back and forth. Yeah. The brain is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, the brain's wild. That's interesting, though. Like, I actually want to know. Because, like, I feel like for me, I rarely get angry, right? It's, like, genuine anger to the point I want to physically harm someone. Like, I can be calm and do it if I have to. But to the point where I rage, like, I'm no longer making conscious decisions like that I should be making. Mm-hmm. It's just, like, straight up me, this target. How can I put my fist through this target? Very rare to happen.
But real quick, you know what that just reminded me of? Take a boxer. A boxer's life is in danger.
That's true.
Right? Very calm.
Yeah.
Very fucking calm. Very critical thinking. Very analytical.
That's actually a great point. Because if you watch press conferences in any combat sports, they talk shit. Half the time, these guys don't even know each other. Yeah. They're talking shit for a couple reasons. One, they're trying to sell the fight. But two, like, look at Conor McGregor. Perfect example. He talks so much shit, not because, well, one, he wanted to sell fights, right? But two, because he was trying to get in their head because he knew fighters know if I can make you act emotionally, you're gonna make some mistake. You're gonna do something that you normally would not have done.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna capitalize on it because I'm looking for it and I'm ready for it. And that's like a perfect example. Like you take like Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor. I feel, in my opinion, Conor McGregor got into his head. And that's why Jose Aldo came out just swinging crazy and got knocked out in 13 seconds. Because if you watch it, like Jose Aldo came out like antsy, and McGregor was nice and calm. It was like he got in his head, like he did what he had to do. He got him to act emotionally, and because he wasn't emotional about it, he was able to analyze quickly and through experience, and then just catch him with the left, put him out. And like that goes back to everything else in life. Like how I've always said, you don't live if you can't control your emotions. Other people are living for you. If I know I can do something to make you act a certain way, and that in those actions you're going to do something stupid, and I can capitalize on it, then I'm living for you. You're not living. I control you. You do not control yourself.
I'm the puppet master.
Exactly. I'm pulling the strings, and you in your head, you're like, no, I'm doing it. But in reality, it's me pulling the strings, laughing. Look, I knew you were going to do it. How do you think I know? Because I made you do it. You know, it's not like a magical wonder. Like, oh, how do you know I was gonna throw that, or how do you know I was gonna do that? It was he made you do that.
Yeah,
he did things on purpose, and you fell right into the trap.
You followed the script.
Yeah, you fell right into the trap because you allowed yourself to go off emotion rather logic, and that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Look, take a child, right? A child can't make no fucking decisions for themselves, right?
Yeah.
You know how easy it is to piss off a child?
Yeah.
Like, and once a child is angry, that's it. You got the child to a state where it's going to do more dumb shit. That's essentially the same case with a lot of adults today.
Yeah.
Something in the world, or literally something that anybody does, can trigger them or cause them to have a certain reaction that people not necessarily are thinking, oh, let me get this out of them, but know that they could.
Yeah.
Like if I know you have a soft spot, then I know how to bother you.
Yeah.
Because if I push that soft spot, you're gonna get angry.
Yeah.
You're gonna say something dumb, and now it's like, oh, Gianni said this, yo, damn.
Yeah, and like I said before, like if there's people like that, I personally wouldn't want to associate myself with them all the time, because their dumb reaction is gonna make me have to react as well in a way I don't want to probably, and then who knows what the consequences of those actions are. Best case scenario, nothing happens, but how likely is that? You know, and then for all of it to happen when you didn't even want to do it is like, damn. You know, so that's why you got to surround yourself with certain people who know how to control themselves so that you can avoid more situations. And like you see it a lot in high school, like one kid is with another kid. One of the kids decides to do something stupid. Both kids get in trouble for it. But it was one kid in specific's idea who actually partook and did it. But now they both got in trouble just because the other kid happened to be with them. Same thing with like, you see people like hanging out with who aren't in a gang, but then hang out with gang members. Okay. Well, when the other gang decides to go kill that guy and you happen to be there, they're not going to not shoot at you because you're not in a gang. They're just going to shoot at you too. So you made a dumb decision. That's on you, you know, and you got to be smarter. You got to be more logical.
It's true.
So I actually have a quote here from Pythagoras, and it says, "No man is free who cannot control himself." So if you cannot control yourself, you're essentially not free. You're a slave to someone else. So
to someone else, to something.
Yeah, to something else, whatever it may be. But if like the quote literally says, "No man is free who cannot control himself." You are not living if you cannot control your emotions. Other people are living for you or dictating the life you decide you live. Not that you decide, but that you live. And in my personal opinion, I think the best thing to do with those emotions, like I said, we're human. We're going to experience emotions. We are going to have moments where shit just slips up and we act in those emotions. It's normal, it's life, but it's trying to minimize as much of that as possible. So, in my opinion, I think the best thing to do when you have those emotions is to use those emotions as fuel for progress in your life versus fuel for just acting out, you know, instead of using it as like, I'm just gonna fuck everybody, I'm gonna go crazy. No, you're being emotional. Instead, use it as fuel, like, okay, they don't believe me when I say I'm gonna do this in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that. I'm gonna prove them fucking wrong. Versus like, oh, they don't believe, they're fake as fuck. No, I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm gonna do this. You know, another way is where to go. God damn, I lost it. Is like finances, for example. Like people don't want to maybe jump into business with you. People don't believe in what you say. You say things about businesses, and you get angry because no one takes you serious. Well, instead of like doing them dirty now that you're in a better position or whatever, instead show them through your actions, not through your words. Look what I just did, and watch how they change. And it doesn't mean you have to be a dick to them either. Like it depends who they are and how they've treated you. But you could also be like, okay, I'll put you on now, right? Like you don't have to be an asshole either. And that will then change how people treat you, act around you, and things like that. I think the main point I'm trying to say is use your fuel as motivation for progress in your life. I say use your fuel. use your emotions as fuel for motivation for progress in your life. When you feel that anger, channel it into the weights that you're lifting or whatever exercise you're doing or boxing or whatever it is that you're doing, or use that anger, use the sadness, use the laziness, use whatever emotion it may be, channel it all into one place and just go hard at it. And then use that, whatever it is you're going hard at though, make sure it's something that's going to bring progress to your life, not the opposite.
Yeah.
Make sure it's benefiting you in the long run. And by doing that, you also have to acknowledge those emotions. I'm not saying don't acknowledge, like pretend it didn't happen and just keep going. No, that's not going to work. It's saying, okay, this person doubts me. This person doesn't believe in me. This crazy ass shit just happened to me, and like I have every reason to be completely sad right now. This just happened. I just want to, I just want to lay in bed and do fucking nothing. Instead, be like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to prove this person wrong. I'm going to prove that person wrong. I'm going to prove myself wrong. I'm going to prove that wrong. I'm going to use all of this into one thing, build it up, put that into something that's good for me, and then use that as the fuel to get me to where I need to be. Because then when I get there, I'm going to be chilling. And then once I get there, I may think, no, when I get there, I'm going to do this, and that to all those people that did. And then you get there and you're like, I'm all right.
Yep. The success is the revenge.
Yeah. Yes. So that's what I think. That's my opinion.
That was sauce right there. That was gas. I was just letting you. I was like, yeah, this motherfucker's.
That's just my opinions, right? Obviously, this is my opinion. You guys may not agree with it. If you don't, comment down below too. Like, let me know, because I may be wrong. I could also be right. I don't know, but unless you guys tell me, I won't know. I would just continue to think I'm right until somebody challenges my beliefs or ideas. So if you disagree, comment down below. If you agree, comment down below as well. And tell me why or why not. So, I can have a better understanding. You can have a better understanding. We can have dialogue and understand each other better. And even if we don't agree, at the end of the day, at least we can come to a common ground or have a better understanding of why one thinks the way and why one thinks the other way. So any last thoughts for you?
This man just said so much game right there. Like, whether if it's taking negativity, turning it towards fuel for progress, or understanding your emotions and channeling them. Like, these are things that you don't think about until, life kind of forces you to think about them.
Yeah.
And I think you just put on a full, like, PowerPoint presentation, A to Z, on, like, a really, really beneficial way about going through negative shit.
Yeah. Thank you.
You did your thing this episode.
Thank you. But yeah, one last point I was gonna say is low-key leaving my mind now, so I might not say it. But I was going to say that it fucking left my mind as soon as I started talking. Fuck it. It'll come back to me as soon as the camera turns off. But anyways, that's episode 35, Lost Boyz Podcast. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn your post notifications on. We post every Thursday at 12. Share it with a friend. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and comment down below whether you agreed, disagreed, why not, and so on and so forth. And we also have the Google form in the bio as well. So if there's a topic you would like us to talk about, type that in and submit it there. It's anonymous. So if it's something personal, you don't want us to know that it's coming from you, we won't know. If you want us to know, just put a dash in your name then, and then we'll know. We could give you a shout out. But make sure you do that so we can talk about the things you guys want to hear as well. And yeah, with that being said, it's episode 35. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.